The Jaguars lose in Cincinnati and have some serious soul searching to do after only week 2.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. And this is a post-game edition of Locked On Jaguars, where the Jags go up and lose 31-27 to the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll run it down for you in 2 separate halves today here on the post-game show. But we would like to let you know that, you can get us wherever you subscribe to your podcast. Make sure you tap in at that location each and every day. And shout out to the everydayers that join us. I had to go through all of that because that's the way we do it here. I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned and almost speechless by the ineptitude of the star players of the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially the star players on offense. There's a lot of stuff we can get to as to why the Jaguars lost a game that they were the better team on the field. They don't have Jamar Chase on their team. That's the main takeaway. They don't have Jamar Chase. And what they have is they have a quarterback that he has this energy about him, man, that when things start going wrong with him, they start going wrong everywhere. Now, he redeemed himself a little bit, Trevor Lawrence, and he threw a couple of passes that should have been caught that should have sealed the game. There was also a pass interference call on Travis Hunter that I did not agree with. There's a lot to unwrap here. So what we'll talk about as we close the show later, what it all means short term. But we're going to start talking about stars go dark when Jags needing them the absolute most. Super disappointed in Brian Thomas Jr. for a lot of reasons. I got people already hit me up saying he's a bust. He's not a bust. You don't do what he did last year by accident. There's something going on with him, man. He's in a funk. And he's in a funk in a physical sport where he looks like he don't want to play. It looked like he want to take his ball and go home. Like can't be that as a wide receiver. Parker Washington is your 4th receiver, and he's the surest thing you have on this team right now offensively, at least at the wide receiver position. That's going to catch the ball every single time you throw it to him. Dyami Brown had a good game, except he dropped a touchdown that would have ended the game. All right? And I don't know how many pre-snap penalties Dyami Brown had today, but they were too many. The running backs, they were fine. Bashaw Tootin and Travis Etienne both played well enough for this team to win. For the most part, the offensive line, outside of a couple of pressures that Walker Little gave up to Trey Hendrickson, played well. The defense, for the most part, the run defense played well. But once again, Tyson Campbell gives up big plays down the sideline. Other people just not doing the things that they needed to do. The most disappointing and disheartening thing about this is you got a coaching staff that calls the plays like they expect these dudes to survive and to achieve what they're out there to do. You got coaches that are calling the plays like they believe in you. All right, Trevor, here, make these throws. All right, guys, catch the ball. We're going to put the ball in your hands in this situation. All right, we're going for it. Instead of going up by 6, we're going to go and try to end this game, Brian Thomas Jr. We're going to dial this play up, and we're going to hit you right in your body. And then there was another play where Dyami Brown was catching another hospital ball from Trevor Lawrence, and Liam Cohen was on the sideline yelling, "You got to put it on his body." And Trevor waved him off. So I know we're going to hear about that. The dudes on the ground up in Cincinnati will probably ask about that. And if they don't ask about it, and it's going to get to the point where it's going to be something that people say is overblown. Folks are going to say this is a part of the game. He was just moving on to the next play. He was letting his coach know But your coach yells at you like that because he has a higher expectation for you to do something. They let Liam Cohen down today. They absolutely let the coaching staff down. I was all ready to come on here and be talking about the Jaguars are 2-0 with a lot of questions, but at least they're 2-0 with those questions. But now they're 1-1, and now those questions are even bigger because it seems like something happened to them mentally and psychologically today that's dangerous. They couldn't move to the next play. They couldn't get out of their own way. They couldn't grab momentum. They actually did a couple of times. Devin Lloyd picked the ball off, and it looked like they were going to seal the game. The only call I didn't like was, well, I don't even know if it was a call, but I know Travis Etienne ran outside and lost a boatload of yards early and put him in a long down and distance situation when they needed a touchdown. Bengals fans were leaving the game. They thought it was over with. A lot of people thought it was over with when Joe Burrow got hurt. I almost wish Joe Burrow had stayed in the game now because it seemed like when he went out of the game, everybody went on cruise control thinking that the game was over. We've seen that before. That same kid beat Jacksonville about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago on Monday night. We've seen that before. Awful, awful game for the Jaguars. Started out really, really well. They were really, really competent on offense. It appeared that they were moving the ball up and down the field. And then all of a sudden, the bad news bears came out and they stunk. Situational football, penalties, bad passes, guys short-arming balls being overthrown, balls being dropped. It's not all on Trevor Lawrence, but there was a point in this game where he seemed to be a little bit off and was getting a little bit too loosey-goosey. And then it seemed like it started rolling downhill, and it continued to be that way for everyone else. And the Jaguars lose 31-27, and now they're 1-1, and a lot of happy people aren't happy anymore because of the way that this game went, man. It just should not have gone this way, but it did. I'll talk about what it means moving forward, long and short term. We'll get to that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. All right, this episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your stakes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. I'm looking at this game later, and I'm thinking that whatever the touchdowns are for Saquon Barkley, he's going to exceed it. There you go. Take Saquon. Now, download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. And today's show is sponsored and brought to you by BetterHelp. We all turn to some funky places for advice. Your barista, your barber, right? Maybe even a random stranger in the bathroom. But not everyone they're not all the right ones when it comes to real support. That's why BetterHelp is here with over 30,000 licensed therapists and more than 10 years of experience. BetterHelp helps you find your match, someone clinically trained and credentialed to guide you through life's challenges. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Find the one with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/locked-on. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/locked-on. And today's show is also sponsored and brought to you by Upside. If you're still paying full price for gas, you're crazy. Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or on Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code that is called Touchdown. That's my code. And get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You can make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already need. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now using my limited time promo code touchdown for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code touchdown. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. All right, man. Jaguars are not victorious today in Cincinnati in a game that started off like they were going to be. They got walked down and then passed up at the last minute by the Bengals. A lot of things went wrong today. I was mad at different people at different times. I was mad at Trevor, and then I got mad at Tyson Campbell. Then I got mad at Brian Thomas Jr., and I got mad at him again. Then I got angry at Travis Hunter once or twice, and then, of course, Diami Brown late. It's just that too much went wrong. Even questioned Liam Cohen a little bit, but I kind of understand not taking the points because exactly what happened at the end of the game is why you decided you weren't going to take the points, and you probably felt like you needed to get ahead in the game. So without going over all of the statistics, I will tell you that my personal Locked On Jaguars player of the game today was Parker Washington with 6 catches and 81 yards. It's not just that. I almost gave it to Bashaw Tootin too. It's just that they were the dudes out there acting like they wanted to win. So you got Travis Etienne, Parker Washington, Bashaw Tootin, Devin Lloyd. All of these dudes that everybody was ready to run off of this team are the ones that stepped up today and actually looked like they wanted to win the game. And I know it's extremely disappointing, and it's leading a lot of people to sit here and say, this guy's a bust, that guy's a bust, this guy's a bust. No, what they do between now and the next time that they play is what is really going to determine how this team is going to move forward. And I think you're going to see a little bit more of, it's not going to be performative either. I think you're going to see a more fiery side of Liam Cohen. I think you're going to see a more, all right, now it's time for us to clean this stuff up, and all of that feel good stuff about us all being here together and playing for each other. You got to do it. It's about accountability at this point. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of players take accountability for what they did and what they didn't do. It's not over. The Jaguars have some really, really good parts. I think they're going to be in every game because they're very, very fast and very, very explosive on offense. But there are going to be some things that are going to they're going to come up. And the things that are going to come up are this. And here we go. The things that came up last week about Travis Hunter, about their usage, what they gave up to go and get him. His performance so far, why it seems like they're getting more production out of other people. It was pointed out several times on the broadcast today by Logan Ryan, a former player, and he says, I'm just expecting more. I'm expecting more. And when you see somebody on commercials all the time, this is the other side that comes with that. When there's all of the hype, and it's not just the price tag, but it's the marketing, and it's all of that stuff. Folks want to see a result, or at least get an explanation as to, okay, 1 week I understand you won the game, but I told you when you don't win, now the questions will come. They're trying to figure it out of how they're going to use them on offense and how they're going to use them on defense. They also have to look at some current deficiencies right now. I saw him when he was guarding T. Higgins, and T. Higgins looked like he almost separated his chest, from the rest of his body, and trying to run through him. I think Travis is a great athlete and a great player, but he's slight. He's not the biggest, strongest guy in the world. And you can tell when guys come off that line, they got it in their mind, okay, let me see what this young man has. And they're going to test him right away. They got to figure out how to put him in a better position and not just only give him slants and all of those things. Travis was a dude that people thought was a big play guy, and I did too. And so far, we haven't seen it. In fact, it looks kind of normal. The things that he was able to do in college and what he's been able to do, he doesn't look too much different in these games from anybody else. He doesn't look any different than Diami Brown as a wide receiver. Everybody looking better than Brian Thomas Jr. right now, but he just doesn't look that much different. So maybe it's I don't know, maybe the experiment needs to just be streamlined and they start focusing on one thing more than the other, just like some people have said. But I think this feeling out process and trying to figure it out. And you saw Liam Cohen. At some point, he says, okay, I got to try to win the game. And he was going to his best players. And that's the hardest part about this game today. A 31-27 loss to Cincinnati, that the best players let them down. I would still have a lot of these concerns that I have right now, but it'd be different because they'd be 2-0 and trying to clean things up and saying, hey, we won when we weren't at our best. But now they lost on a day when they were at their best for a little while, and then they were at their absolute worst. And that variance is something that they're going to get any better this year and move forward. They got to close that up. They got to close that up. So they lost. Lots of questions, especially about the stars. If you were a person who did not believe in Trevor Lawrence, you have no reason to believe in him now. And if you're a person that was sitting there maybe wondering if Brian Thomas Jr. had a problem with drops in the preseason, well, yeah, not only the drops, but the appearance of the lack of physicality and the lack of dog right now, it's bothersome. And maybe one of the reasons was a couple of hits that he took in the preseason. I don't know, but whatever it is, he's a pro and he better figure it out real quick, because this thing can steamroll like crazy and get out of control. But shout out to ETN again, and Parker Washington and Bashaw Tootin, and a lot of guys that were forgotten about on today, because if it wasn't for them, the Jaguars wouldn't have been in this game at all. Make sure y'all check me out on Locked On Jaguars each and every day. We're going to talk about this more. It's going to be a hot and heavy week, man. You know, I'm used to being a grief counselor, so I know you guys are used to it. All right, we'll see you guys on Locked On Jaguars this week. Check out what the coach and everyone else says on Jaguars.com, and that's what we'll have comments about this week. We'll see you next time here on Locked On Jaguars.